Hello, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Speak, Film, and Enter, a podcast where we review and rank movies. I'm Nate.
And I'm Dylan.
And I'm Adam.
Today, we are talking about David Fincher's new Netflix movie, The Killer, which just dropped onto Netflix on November 10th. So it's brand new. Sounds like it's doing really well, as pretty much any thriller-type Fincher movie, I think, is going to. You know, when you've got Zodiac and Seven and Fight Club and Gone Girl and The Girl with the Dragon Tattoo in your holster. I think any movie that you make where somebody's pointing a gun at the audience on the poster, people are going to check it out.
Yeah, for sure.
So with that, Adam, would you like to tell the people what The Killer is about?
Yes, sir. After a fateful near miss, an assassin battles his employers and himself on an international manhunt he insists isn't personal.
Yeah, I'm not sure if, I guess he kind of insists to us that it's not really personal, kind of.
By narration, yes.
He's trying to convince himself it's not personal when it absolutely is.
Right. First thing I want to start off with is it's fun to see kind of the return of Michael Fassbender. He's been MIA for a while, raising kids, racing cars, living a really freaking cool life. So, you know, kind of one of those people where you get upset that they're not acting because they're awesome at it, but then you find out what they're doing and you're like, I kind of get it.
Like, good for you, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Like,
isn't he married to somebody really famous too?
That's a good question. I would have to look that up.
Yeah. Either way, he's back. Oh yeah, Alicia Vikander.
Oh yeah.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
God, he's just killing it at life right now.
I mean, you could also say she's crushing it too. So
they're both crushing it.
It's a power couple for sure.
He's also a catch. So it's fun to see Fassbender back here in a movie that for me fell, I don't want to say like way short, but noticeably short of expectations. Fincher's done some amazing thrillers. I mean, my favorite movie of his is The Social Network, but from the more like traditional thriller side of it, I think Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, Gone Girl, Fight Club are all fantastic. Seven's really good too, although that's on my list of movies I think I don't ever want to watch again, just because it's so disturbing. But you know, the premise of this, like Fincher doing a movie about a hitman and Fassbender's back, I was really pumped for this, and it seems like there are a lot of critics who really like this, a lot of people who are big fans of David Fincher. This was just kind of too cold for me. I understand that's kind of the point of a lot of it. I really liked the first 15 minutes or so when we're watching him on that leading up to that fateful near miss, as the synopsis says, the stakeout, and kind of lots of early narration, that big monologue kind of explaining how you want to do things. And that was really fascinating.
Yeah.
And all the way up through that was really interesting. And then kind of the immediate aftermath of that, I was still on board. But then for me, it kind of falls into this rather sloggy, repetitive pace and nature that eventually there are some scenes that I found more interesting and more exciting down the road. But I thought like the middle of this movie, I really struggled with.
Yeah, I think my experience was pretty similar to yours. I really, really wanted to like this. This totally seemed like it was right up my alley. And to your point, Nate, that first 15, 20 minutes, I was digging what he was laying down.
Yeah.
Like the opening credits, they just like start abruptly. They're very kind of interesting visually, and then they just end. It was very much just like, oh, okay. Like he's doing different stuff. And I like the detail, the very meticulous, him setting up the hit and the narration. I'm like, okay, this is a great starting point. But then to your point, it just felt like in the middle, and then even going down the end, it just kind of spins its wheels. And it's like, in my opinion, too much narration. Like him repeating the kind of the mantras, and kind of, I didn't need it that much. I felt like it kind of took out, and also like the score wasn't really that memorable because I felt like he was narrating over it constantly.
There's one moment where I thought it was amazing. I'll get to that after you guys kind of give your
and then
big picture thoughts.
To your point, you know, it has a chapter kind of structure, and it felt like chapters 3, 4, and 5 were the same thing.
Yeah.
and then it just in the end it left me, it felt a little hollow. It felt style over substance. It felt just kind of like the highs of the movie were the action, the thriller stuff, when him planning, how am I going to get in there, every little detail of the fake IDs, and I got to get this, I got to get a recycling bin, and then I got to get a van, and I got like, and that was, I was on the edge of my seat. But then it was just kind of, all right, now we're doing this here, now we're doing this there, and by the end, I really didn't like the ending and just the note it ended on. It felt really flat to me.
It just didn't have anything that really, really grabbed me. Like, it's fine. Like, there's no like the I think the best action sequence is the fight sequence in Florida. Like that whole bit
this fight
is great.
That's what I was going to bring up
it.
for when the score really worked for me.
Yeah.
I thought the way that was edited together with like kind of an interesting, like deep, like bass score, almost just kind of accentuating how strong this guy is that he's fighting.
Yeah.
I thought that was done really, really well. And that was kind of that leading into a scene with Tilda Swinton was kind of the only stretch of the movie outside of that opening sequence that kind of pulled me back in.
Yeah. And that's what I'd say is, like, by and large, this is it's a decent movie, but it's not gonna like break any barriers. It's not really doing anything that special. The music for a large part, the score I didn't really even notice, and then he just listens to the Smiths forever, so it's like that's fine. Like, obviously he's eccentric and he does his own things, but there's just not that much substance in caring about this character, caring about why he's on this kind of like vendetta. Like, it's
well, that's
less important to me than some of his other stuff, and it was a letdown.
I guess so. Going from initial reactions to just like, kind of things we all agree we liked about it. I think the action sequences and just the actual, like, the hits themselves, when the tension is high and someone's got a gun, to your point, when there's guns and knives and things, being like, it's classic Fincher. And I felt like, that's why the Fincher heads are going to be like, oh, this is amazing. And some critics, I feel like, will like it and like how kind of slick it is. But I just felt like the stuff in between, was let down. But yeah, I like the action stuff. I thought the Smiths thing was kind of funny. There was a few kind of good jokes in there. And then yeah, I just think the lighting and just some of the setups. I mean, he obviously has a good eye for it. I felt like it was weird. Sometimes the cinematography felt a little kind of cheap, or just kind of like, I don't know, like the shaky cam stuff when he, like, in like the second chapter when he gets back home or whatever, like that felt a little off. It felt like I'm more used to Fincher kind of having like sturdy, kind of always a cool angle to look at things, and I didn't get that all the way through. But I would say, yeah, that, and then Fassbender's performance, there wasn't a ton of depth to work with, I felt like, but for what he was asked to do, he was really good at it. He was really physical. And I thought he did a good job.
I'd agree. Would you, comparing this to some of his other thrillers, I just think there's less mystery in this one.
Oh, yeah.
If that makes sense. Like, I wouldn't put this up against anything. This would be a great intro to Fincher. It's a lot of style, like the typeface and all that stuff is really cool. The poster's awesome. Like, the character itself looks cool. It's just not as mind, it doesn't engage you as much as maybe you would like, or maybe some of his other ones do, where they make you think a little bit more.
Yeah, I didn't care about, he was a cool main character, but like, to your point, Nate, maybe too cold, maybe too cool, because like, I didn't care about him as a flesh and bone person the way I do of like the main characters in Gone Girl or the main characters in Seven. Morgan Freeman is like a, grandpa grizzled old detective who just wants, like, there's so much, like, those are like real characters that I can feel for. And this always just felt kind of like a superficial, like, hollow man.
Yeah. He never made me care about this moral code that he kept kind of telling us about. And even when he'd say, kind of keep at it, or whatever the words were that he just kind of kept repeating over and over, it just kind of felt like, sure.
Yeah.
Like, you can keep saying that and you're kind of still doing that. And I don't know, it didn't really fit for me with what I was seeing happen on screen.
Yes.
There was just some kind of disconnect, like, emotionally, between kind of what he's saying and what he's doing, to the point where I didn't care about what he was saying, which is a problem with a movie with that much narration in it.
Yeah. I mean, I kind of want to just call this like US foreign policy as a movie. Like, just be cold, calculating, like, just, you know what I mean? Like, that's what all these people who are like, yeah, just be a billionaire, like just have this discipline. How come you're not more disciplined in your life and do all these things? It's like, yeah, but then you're just a fucking robot asshole douchebag. Like, who cares? Like,
yeah, I feel like
you know
this is the type of movie because it is kind of like simple and straightforward, and mostly like you can kind of put like, I think he's really trying to say this, or I think he's trying to say this. What I mean there, You can put a lot of that onto this movie. I feel like I've seen a lot of reviews talking about how it's kind of about him, how he's very meticulous, and it's kind of an FU to the industry because Mank wasn't well received. So it's like that was his misfire.
Well received by me.
I know, that's the thing. I didn't think it was that. I don't know. I think people like it.
I like it a lot better than The Killer.
Yeah, I mean, there's been way more misfires by directors than that. I'd be like, fucking Beau Was Afraid. I mean, come on, that was. I didn't need to have a mental breakdown for 2.5 hours. Thanks, thanks, Ari Aster. But no, yeah, I don't know. I feel like you can put a lot of things on it, and even if it, I mean, so this is the weird paradox of it is that everything I've said about it, or most of the things I've said about it, have been mostly kind of negative and about what it's lacking. But I do have this strange desire to watch it again.
It's going to be really easy to watch again.
It's like 90 minutes. It's right on Netflix and it looks cool. Like I am telling you, I'm going to rewatch this.
Okay. It's 118 minutes, but the rest of your point still stands.
Oh yeah.
Like, so because I was thinking like comparing this to a movie this isn't synonymous, but another action, I wouldn't call it thriller, but like where like John Wick is a like cool killer. He's a disciplined guy. Like that is much more of a cool movie or a cool world that we live in than this is, where it's it's a disciplined guy. He's a cool dude, but in just a different way. Like it's still both highly stylized. It's just not that, but like if I don't want the kill count, we'll call it, of John Wick, like this is it's more realistic. It's lay on the couch and Fincher back and watch it, right? Like
Fincher can definitely make quality movies, but it is interesting because I can tell you for sure I will rewatch it. It's kind of like it's not, I felt it was underwhelming, and if I'm ranking my Fincher movies, it's definitely lower tier. But like I didn't have a bad time.
It sounds similar to how I felt about Tenet. Where I just like did not like that movie, but then like 4 days later, I was just like, God, I kind of want to watch that again.
Like shit, did I just not get it? Like did I miss something? I guess I'm gonna see it. Like, and the action's fun enough, right? Like
All right. Anything else, or should we dive into the stars?
I think we can get to the stars.
All right, we'll be right back. All right.
Okay. Dylan, you want to go first?
Yeah, I'm going to go first. I am going to give this a 3. And I can say that I could see it going up to 3.5 if the rewatch is enjoyable and I can kind of shed my expectations and just take it for what it is and, nothing else. I feel like I might maybe just enjoy it more. But yeah, I mean, everything that I've said up to this starts really strong. There's some cool action sequences. I think for me, it's just the chapters 4, 5, and then really 6 is the one where it fell flat for me. And going into chapter 6, I was like, okay, let's see where he decides to end this. And that just felt unsatisfying and kind of like didn't leave me feeling like I understood the point. And so it left me unsatisfied, but still kind of, I still had a good time and like I was still excited to watch it. And there were still parts where I was like, oh yeah, like classic Fincher. I like to use food analogies a lot, and I liken this to just kind of like if you're at a party and maybe all there really is to eat is like some pizza and it's not good pizza, and then you like eat a piece and you're like, yeah, that was not like good pizza. But then like 10-20 minutes goes by and you're like, I could have another piece of that. Like there isn't anything else, and it's still pizza. It's still pepperoni. It's still hitting
like a frozen pizza cut into squares.
Yeah, like so.
Yeah.
I'm gonna give it a 3. I think it's good. I think I can totally see if some people said, "I love it. I love how cool and cold and calculating it was." I could totally see if people were like, "It was an empty husk of a movie, and I don't ever want to watch it again." I could
All
see
right.
both.
Well, speaking of people who feel that way,
Yeah, empty huskers. Where you at?
I'm gonna give it a 2.5. It's not like a bad movie, but I found it to be quite a letdown. And the word that I just kind of keep coming back to is slog.
Mm,
And then I did not feel remotely satisfied with the way this movie ended.
yeah.
Yeah, that's a good point.
Adam, where you
I-
at?
I'm actually also at a 2.5, just because I didn't find it to be like super engaging. I didn't feel that it really the runtime. You know, what'd you say it was 118 minutes?
Yeah.
90 minutes.
I didn't feel that it dragged anywhere, but it does feel like a movie where you can kind of scroll your phone and look up and be like, oh, okay, we're doing this now, and it's kind of the same aspect. So like in that regard, perfect Netflix movie, because a lot of people are going to do that. It's not like overly, I mean, don't watch this with your kids, because there's some murder, but it's honestly it's not.
You hear that, folks? Adam says, "Don't watch movies."
Yeah,
with
let's
kids
only
where there's
focus on
murder.
what I say.
Yeah, and the movie The Killer does have murder in it. So PSA.
All right, thanks guys. Go fuck yourselves. I'm out. Jesus fucking Christ, what are we doing? So yeah, 2.5.
All right.
Yeah, no, fair enough. And also, I gotta say, I hate to say this, but a little underwhelmed by Tilda's.
Oh,
cameo.
that's what I
Just
was.
what she
Why
was
is she
given.
in it?
Yeah, what she was given to
I
work
thought
with.
she was really good, but
She's
it pulled
fun,
me out
but,
of
like-
the movie because I was just like, "Oh, Tilda Swinton's in this for like 10 minutes."
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just Dare
It's
I
short.
say?
She doesn't do anything. It's a small conversation. She's the
Mhm.
only other person in the movie that really you recognize. So like,
Yeah, we love. Everyone loves Tilda, but
yeah.
I'm not sure about that part. So, all right. So, whose turn is it to put a wrap on the show?
I think it's yours.
I think you got it.
Oh, I knew it all along. It was a trick. All right.
Yeah. Okay.
I always leave one bullet, either for myself or for my enemy.